All right, let's dive into something pretty wild from the world of social psychology. What if I told you that there is a simple, tiny phrase, just a few words, that could make someone almost 5 times more likely to say yes to you? I know, it sounds like something out of a movie, but this is a very real, very well documented psychological tool. We usually think persuasion is all about having the best arguments or being super confident or just having that natural charisma. But what if one of the biggest secrets to getting a yes is actually way, way simpler? What if it's all about just reminding someone that they don't have to say yes? Just let that sink in for a second. Quintuple your success. We're not talking about a 10 or 20% bump. We're talking about multiplying your effectiveness by 5. Imagine using that to convince a coworker to help you out, or in a really high stakes negotiation. What could you pull off with something that powerful? And here it is, in black and white. This chart shows you exactly how incredible the effect is. In the studies, when people just made a standard request, just asking for something, they got a yes about 10% of the time. That's our starting point on the left. But look what happens when they added this one little phrase. The compliance rate just skyrockets to nearly 50%. This isn't a small change. It is a massive, game-changing leap in persuasive power. So, what is this magic phrase? What's the technique? Well, it actually has a formal name in psychology, and its real power is in how disarmingly simple it is. It's called the evocation of freedom, or, a little more casually, the "but you are free" technique. So let's break that down. At its core, it's a scientifically proven way to get more people to agree with you. And the whole secret, the key to it all, is that you explicitly remind the other person that they are totally in control, that they have the absolute freedom to say no. It sounds completely backward, right? But that's exactly why it works. And here are the words. This is it. This is the phrase, or some version of it, that causes that huge jump we saw on the chart. After you make whatever request you're making, you just add, "but you are free to accept or refuse." That's all. It's just a simple, honest acknowledgement of their autonomy. Okay, so how do we know this isn't just some fluke? Well, this is more than just a clever trick. It is backed by some really solid research. So let's actually look at the study that first brought this whole phenomenon to light. So, this technique was first documented back in 2000 in a really important study by 2 researchers, Nicolas Guéguen and Alexandre Pascual. Their work was, frankly, groundbreaking. They were the first to scientifically prove that just by reminding people of their freedom to choose, you could quintuple the odds of them agreeing with you. So why on earth does this work so well? Well, think about it from the other side. When someone asks you for a favor, you instantly feel a little bit of pressure, right? And our natural reaction to pressure is to resist. It feels like someone is trying to impose their will on us. But the moment you hear that phrase, "but you are free to choose," all that pressure just vanishes. Suddenly, you're the one in the driver's seat. It's your choice. And that feeling of autonomy, of control, makes you way more open to actually cooperating. Okay, so this is all really fascinating from a psychology standpoint, but what about the real world? Where can you actually use this? Well, one of the most powerful places to apply it is in the world of negotiation. For anyone who negotiates, here's the big takeaway. Your real goals shouldn't be to just win. It should be to build a solid agreement. So by saying something like, "Look, based on everything we've talked about, I think this is a fair way to move forward. But, of course, you are completely free to decide," you change the entire feel of the room. You stop being opponents and start being partners trying to solve a problem. It changes everything. And the benefits here are huge. You're not just trying to get a quick yes. You're going for a better yes. By lowering their defenses, you start to build real trust. That trust encourages genuine cooperation. And all of that leads to agreements that aren't just stronger, but that actually last, because both sides feel like they made a free and empowered choice. But this is where things get a little murky, because whenever you have a tool of influence this powerful, you have to stop and ask yourself a really important question. At what point does influencing someone cross the line into something else? The source material I was looking at actually calls this the dark side of negotiation. And you can see why. Even if you have the best intentions, you are knowingly using a psychological trigger to make it more likely you'll get what you want. And that brings us to a pretty critical ethical question. So what is this really? Is it an ethical, powerful tool for building trust and making better deals? Or is it a subtle trick of manipulation, giving someone the illusion of choice while you're actually guiding them exactly where you want them to go? The line between the two can be pretty blurry, and it's a question worth thinking about, both when you're the one trying to persuade and when you're the one being persuaded.